Welcome back to Woman Meets Motherhood. Today we are really excited about this episode. So it's just going to be all things home birth and hypnobirthing. So I'm joined by two women today. I've got Charlie here, who's had 3 home births, and she's also a hypnobirthing practitioner.
Yeah.
And I'm also joined by Natasha, who has been a midwife for about 17 years and is now a community midwife, so now specialises in home birth. So thank you ladies for joining us. We're really glad to have you. We just want to know everything, literally everything. So firstly, Charlie, if you could just tell us why you chose to have a home birth and what that experience was like for you.
Okay, so all of my kids were born at home, including the first one, which I think is a bit unusual. Sometimes first time mums think that you can't do it at home, but I had been very worried about about labour and birth early on in my pregnancy. I just thought, you know, I'm too weak, I'm not strong enough, I can't cope with the pain, I won't be able to do it. So I was trying to find ways around having to give birth, really. And I kind of started off thinking, well, I'll just have an elective section, that'll be fine. And then I realised that you have to have an epidural, and I don't like needles, so that obviously was out. And then my sister suggested hypnobirthing. So while I was doing hypnobirthing, it sort of caused me to challenge some of my preconceptions and to think about what I really wanted rather than what is the norm, I suppose. And what I discovered was that the thing that really scared me about birth more than anything else wasn't really the pain, it was more about being out of control and being tinkered with. I didn't like the idea of being interfered with or not being able to make the decisions that were right for me. And I had some great midwives who I totally trusted, and I totally trusted that they would look after me and they would look after my baby. And yeah, and that's why I decided to do it. And it was lovely. It was everything that I thought it would be, and that's why I had the second and third ones at home, obviously. And actually, when I was pregnant with the third one, there was a period of time that I thought I might not be able to have a home birth, and I then was really freaking out about how will I cope if I have to go to hospital? What's that going to be like? And I knew that she was going to be my last child, so I didn't want that last experience to be something that wasn't as intimate and kind of loving, really, as the previous ones have been.
So what was it like, because I feel like in our experience, especially if we ever pitch it to our husbands that, oh yeah, we want to have a home birth, they very much shut it down.
Yeah.
So what was it like, as in telling your other half, oh, I'm thinking about having a home birth? Was he very much open, or? Yeah,
he was all over it. He was like, yeah, I think that's it. There wasn't really any discussion. I think I said to him one day, I think I had been really clear that I didn't want to go into hospital, that being in hospital scared me. And that's not because hospitals are bad places or because doctors and nurses are bad places, but it's the depersonalisation of it that made me feel anxious. So we've been talking about the birthing centre. But the birthing centre is like a half-hour, 40-minute drive from where I am. And I think I was probably just cooking, and I was like, do you know what? I've just been thinking about maybe we should just have a home birth. And he was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And that was it. We just moved on, you know.
Yeah, and I think for us, it's just, as I said when we were preparing, that culturally, we just don't, like, even if I suggested it, I think I did suggest it to my mum maybe, like the first time, because in my family, they say we give birth quickly. And my mum, for example, she gave birth, her third birth was, she gave birth outside A&E on a stretcher. My sister, she just came. So she's always like, we give birth quickly in our family. Don't let anyone tell you you're not in labour when you are. So, but I was like, so what about home birth? She's like, no. Home birth? No. She's like, don't let them experiment on you. You go to that is their perception, that you prepare yourself, you go to the hospital, you have your baby, and you come home. So I think culturally, and our husbands obviously, they just have not seen. We don't know anyone really who's had a voluntary home birth. We know people who've had it because it's just happened.
They didn't make it.
And I think he hadn't either. And I think if we weren't going through that process where we were asking questions of ourselves and thinking, what do we want birth to be like for us? Because culturally for me, like my mum gave birth to me in the 1970s, and in the 1970s it was really a managed, staged experience. So like she had some really undignified things done to her while she was labouring in hospital. So like my cultural thing was where you just turn up and you go to hospital and it's painful and it's undignified and you suffer and you might be traumatised, but those are just the things that you associate with birth. And I think because we were going through this process where we were starting to think about, well, I don't want to panic and I don't want to be scared, and I do want to have some control and I want to feel calm, that then we were already in a place to, like, together, we were having that dialogue together where we were starting to peel some stuff back and then build up what we wanted, like build up our own framework, our own model of what I'll say it, what a good birth experience looks like, you know. And that's what I talk about all the time is, you know, what is good birth for you? Yeah, so that, you know, that's how we ended up there.
And Natasha, so as a professional, having worked on the labour ward and now in the community,
yes,
how has that like shaped your view of even home birth? Obviously you moved into it for a reason, but seeing women who have been on delivery suits and then moving into home birthing experience, how have just your viewpoint from from the professional side, how the women who choose to have home births, why they choose, how they differ from women who come into hospital, just for everything from your perspective.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a much more relaxed environment, and I think women are able to birth at their own pace, at their own time, with no pressures, no anyone trying to, you know, any obstetricians or anyone saying what's going on now and what's happening and you know, why have you not progressed on and what's going on, and a very different environment being in the hospital and being at home. Obviously, you know, hospital births, there is a right place for, you know, for certain women, especially if they've got medical conditions or there's concerns with the baby, and so then that is an appropriate place. But for the majority of women, you know, birthing at home would be the ideal place because it is a much more relaxed environment. You're a bit more you're a lot more in control. You can eat and drink and come and go, use your own loo, your own shower, your own bath, and as a midwife, we're a guest into that woman's house. You know, you're very much a part of that family and that experience with them. And there's no demands. There's no you can just focus on that one woman, which is what I love about my job. Is it's just about that woman and her family. Whereas in the hospital, you're kind of rushing from one room to another, and often, you know, with the home births, you know, if women know from the beginning that they want that, then you can build that rapport with that lady, and you get to know her, and you know her growing baby and what's been going on with her pregnancy. And so, you know, when it does come to the end and birthing, it's very different to women you meet in the hospital that you may only meet when they first come into labour. And that woman doesn't know you know, and it's kind of getting used to that different environment and things.
There's a physiological aspect to it. Like if I'm now thinking about it from a hypnobirthing point of view, rather than just I'm a person who had home births, there's a physiological aspect to it, which is about the oxytocin production. So oxytocin is the hormone that you produce in your pituitary gland that causes the efficient, consistent, regular contracting of your uterus. But oxytocin is a hormone that's produced when you feel safe and secure. So if you're in hospital and you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling watched, or you're feeling nervous, or people keep checking you or interrupting your flow, it can put you in that slight fight or flight mode. So you're then producing a little bit more adrenaline, a little bit more cortisol, and that acts against the oxytocin. So that's why I think home birth isn't right for everyone. If you feel comfortable and confident there, then that's the perfect place, because you're creating this optimal environment for your whole birthing body. Because you know, when you give birth, it's not just about your body, it's about your perception of your environment as well.
Actually, I was going to say that and challenge, I guess, hospital versus home birth, because I had pain-free labour. I had amazing labours. I most talked about hospital. But I think very much I'm a Christian, so for me, from the beginning of my pregnancies, I had a mindset that I was like, I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to be in pain. I literally was just like, I'm going to trust in my. I was so like I was just so convinced that my body would know what, and I was so calm. Like, Golda was my first labour. I'd have a contraction and like, literally, I just turned this poor driver out, and I was like, yeah, just having a contraction. Okay, like I was so. But I guess what I was going to say is that environment, yes, but also probably where your mind.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, completely.
Complete, like I completely. So I'm always a bit careful when I meet clients, because I do want to say to them, you know, this is my experience and this is how I come at it. But just because I had home birth doesn't mean that I think home births are right for you. It's got to be your decision. You have to make your own risk-benefit analysis, understanding who you are, how your pregnancy has gone, how any previous labours have gone, what your husband's like. Yeah, there's no good having a home birth if your husband's pacing up and down outside and freaking you out. It's totally counterproductive.
Absolutely.
Natasha, have you ever come across women who are in the home birth situation, and they're women who, like, they're still cooking, they're still cleaning, they're just being a wife and a mum, or continue to be a wife and a mum even though they're in labour?
Absolutely, yeah, still bathing the kids and reading them their stories, and, you know, watching a movie together, and, you know, having a little dance off with their kids. Yes, definitely lots of things like that, which is lovely. And then you'll kind of feel like, we're in here, or, you know, it doesn't feel like you're at birthing, because it's just like every day, you know, life.
But I want to just take it back a little bit. So when you decide, okay, home birth is what I want, that's what I'm having, what then is the process? So I've met a lady who's had, I think, 2 home births. So she had like a traumatic labour, and then she was like, she doesn't want to do hospital anymore, so she went to midwife, and she said like all her midwife appointments, everything was at her house. I don't know if that's maybe the hospital that you are, I don't know, is that the case, or do you still have to come to hospital for your appointments, and then how does it work then?
I think it varies from trust to trust. So you know, I'm very lucky where I was. My midwife appointments in the early part of my labour, they weren't at hospital, they were at a cottage. Basically, it's a cottage hospital. It's a small hospital in that town, so that's where the midwives were based. So that was just a walk down the hill from me. By the time the birth box is delivered, which I love, then the midwives appointment. 37 weeks?
Yes,
yeah, when you're full term. And then the midwife appointments were at home. But, you know, I had amazing community care from my midwives. Like I had, I'd have to be careful how I say this because I don't want to land anyone in trouble, but I had 2 sweeps with the first and the third, and they were done at home. They came to my home and did it, which was just...
What's a sweep?
So a sweep is stretch and sweep, I think is the technical term, and it's, I'm going to use the lovely hand movements that people who aren't pregnant don't love, but it's just an insertion of the finger into the cervix, just to, I call it, have a rummage around, but I think that's probably
just to stimulate, you know, and to sort of, to stretch that, you know, it's just to stimulate your own hormones to try and get you into labour. It's kind of a non-medical version of trying to get you into labour.
So after you've decided, and you're having, whether home or in the local community or whatever it is, how does home birthing midwife? It might not differ, probably the same thing. They probably go through the same process, same questions. But post that 37 weeks, what differs for you in terms of a home birth, or how does it differ compared to a normal? Because I could, at 36 weeks pregnant, next week I'm full term. I have one more midwife appointment in the hospital, but then I'm just waiting. I'm just really waiting. How does it differ for you as the midwife of a home birth?
Well, I mean, within our trust, we actually do have a home birth team. So they specifically look after the ladies, and it doesn't, you know, sometimes they know right at the beginning that they want that home birth, and then we can get that, you know, the home birth team to go in and do their booking appointment and then plan their whole care with them, and a majority of their care will, you know, all be at home. You know, their scans obviously sit at the hospital, and if they need any other blood tests or other things, even majority of blood tests can still be done at home, so they would have all of that care. But sometimes we meet ladies along the way that, you know, like even for yourself, being 36 weeks and maybe think, oh yeah, actually I've looked into it now, and I think that would be the thing to do. And then they can just contact us, community midwives, or even speak to someone at the antenatal clinic or the home birth team. So there are ways of you just mention to your midwife, say I want to do that, they put you in contact with them, and then even from 37 weeks, you know, you just have your care at home with them, you know, within our team. That's what we would do. So we'd come, and at 37 weeks we bring the kit round, the home birth. So in the kit we've got basically just equipment for the birth. So we have some instruments we used mainly for cutting and clamping the cord. And also, if you have any tears and you need to be sutured, to have any stitches, then we can do that at home. We've got the kit and everything that we all in that package. We've got the anaesthetic that we can give you, and there's loads of like Inco pads and sanitary towels and gloves and a little pot to put your placenta in afterwards, which we then take away and dispose of. Some people want them. Yeah, some people want their placentas.
I was always really disappointed.
I had placenta capsule.
I know. I've got placenta face all over. I was always, because like I'm a spot squeezer and a scab picker, and I really wanted them to leave my placenta overnight so I could have a proper look at it when I'd recovered. Do you know what I mean? Well, because they're massive and
they are amazing. Like the size of a dinner plate.
Yeah,
it is really big, and to think that that's what's been sustaining your baby for 9 months, it is pretty amazing when you look at it. And obviously we have to examine it and check it to make sure it's healthy and that it's all one piece, because we need to make sure that it's all come out properly. And then we do have some people, you know, that want to have a look, and we examine it with them and show them the bits we're looking at, and then we can take it away, or they can do whatever with it. Sometimes we've had people that have buried it in the garden. They wanted it for their, and then they wanted to plant the rose bush.
Oh my gosh!
And we're like, dig deep. Those foxes, they'll be around.
So, and then what's the necessity of the home? How do we prepare?
So, you know, the important thing is that it's a warm, comfortable environment for you. So it doesn't really matter, you know, if you're a house or a flat, or, I mean, obviously access in and out of the property would be good in case of an emergency. So if we needed an ambulance to come, you know, we don't want them having like 50 flights of stairs to get up or whatever. And
how quickly can they come if something's gone wrong?
Oh, within a couple of minutes. Okay. Yeah, as soon as you put that 999 call out, they are out. And they're, you know,
so I think it's really quick. People probably just think, if something goes wrong,
I want to be able to get that.
Yeah, I think probably in our culture, they're thinking if something goes wrong, you're going to be at home.
So my midwife had said to me, because that was the biggest question that I had when I was preparing for a home birth. The biggest question was, what if something goes wrong? Because that culturally is something that so many people associate with birth, is that it's dangerous. You know, it's bad things can happen. So that was the thing that was the tipping point for me. And she used this phrase about decision to incision, that she felt, because of where we lived in proximity to the hospital, that actually it wouldn't be significantly different between being at home versus being on the labour ward if a midwife suddenly thought. Except that I don't think the word suddenly is right, because I think that's another kind of cultural perception we have with birth, that people think, you know, suddenly things go wrong. And, you know, my midwives have always been like, you know, we can see stuff coming.
There are telltale signs in a labour if things aren't going to go down the right path.
So during labour, for example, if you come to someone's house, you can tell that something's not right.
So we are assessing all of the time. So although you're pottering around and doing your thing, as midwives, we're watching, we're seeing how long those contractions are lasting, we're seeing whether your waters are broken, we're listening into your baby's heartbeat, we're doing observations on you. So we are constantly checking and assessing to make sure everything is going well.
When do we call you? So for example, me, I'm just thinking about my labours, like, I went to hospital exactly, it was 2 days over past my due date, and I really went, I think I had a mucus plug, but I didn't want to, I had some contractions, but it wasn't like, you know, I just wanted to just go there because I wanted him to come out. And they said the birthing centre was available, so like, come, we'll check you because your first labour was quick. When I went there, they were like, oh, nothing, like, you're 2 centimetres, nothing happening. And then 14 minutes, they said my first stage and second stage, 8 minutes. But when would we call you? Because
whenever. I mean, that's the beauty of having a home birth. You've got the phone numbers for your midwives, you know who is on call for you, and you just ring them at any time, even if you're not
in established labour. So even if you're 4 centimetres, you'll still come.
Yeah, well, we can talk to you, we'll have that conversation with you on the phone, and we'll assess you on the phone and talk things through.
Even on the phone,
but you may say nothing's happening, but still come, and we'll come.
So for my first labour was very, very long, and the midwives came and they sat on the floor in the room that I was labouring in for about an hour, just watching and listening and writing notes. And then obviously it was very early stages, so they disappeared and said, just phone us later. And I was a bit like, oh my God, they're leaving us. But, you know, it was fine. You know, we just faffed around at home for a little bit and chilled out, and it was all fine. With the second one, he was much, much quicker. He was like a 90-minute delivery, really. And I said when we were preparing that my husband was like, because I'd had this latent labour that didn't really develop into anything. And he said, oh, what you need is a curry, that'll hurry things along. So off he went, and you know, within seconds of him shutting the door, suddenly I was having these contractions that were coming pretty hard and fast. And I phoned my midwife and said, I think I'm on, and in the middle of the phone call, I had this massive contraction that I couldn't talk through, so I had to put the phone down, and she said, I'm on my way, don't worry. And she was there within like 10 minutes, I think.
But I think that is what is even scary, because 10 minutes could seem, like when you call them, I guess if you deliver, isn't it? Your husband has to catch the baby, but it's just, I think all of those things, is like if you're in a hospital and it's like, oh, midwife, something's happening, she can just run there.
But you'd still have to get to the hospital.
You still got to make your way in. I mean, like, I had a lady last weekend who, you know, things were niggling. I went round to assess her, had a chat with her, and, you know, she was breathing through her contractions, doing absolutely brilliant. And then we were there for about an hour and a half or so, and then she was a bit like, I think it's gone off a bit now. And we were like, well, what, you know, what do you want us to do? You know, and she said, oh, I think I'm going to go in for a lie down and have something to eat and stuff. And she said, maybe, you know, and we said, would you want us to stay? How do you want to put it? And she was like, no, you go away and we'll call you back again. And so I was probably away for a couple of hours or so, and then we get the call that, right, my waters have broken now, and then literally 10 minutes later, the contractions have kicked in now, and we were like, don't worry, we're on our way, and we were there, and it was brilliant.
My waters break, the baby comes straight away. That's why, like in that, it's just like, like I'm pooing, and it's like babies come out.
But the lovely thing, your body as well, so it's a thing where you would say to the midwives, actually stay, because I think I have quick labours.
Exactly, and it's all about assessing.
But the midwife would be wanting to stay, because you know sometimes you feel like the midwife, you don't want to waste the midwife's time, or like you have that like guilt that
feel like that's their job, they're ready to catch your baby.
Exactly, and that's what we would discuss with you. Like for this particular woman, she wanted us to leave, and so we were like, that's fine, and we're just down the road, you know, we can get back, and that's fine.
How many
and so we
midwives
it's different.
Always two.
So there's always two.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
and
always two.
Is there ever, obviously in the hospital you have shift changes, so is there ever?
Yes. So they may well be, but predominantly it's, you know, you'd have that main midwife that was with you, and then the other one would generally come towards the end, but not necessarily, but it'd be someone within that team. So it'd be someone that you've known, someone that's come and done an appointment with you, and you've had that conversation, you know, with them and been, you know, seen them before.
Yeah, I mean, it's like gold star care, really, because I think one of the things, like I haven't ever had a baby in a hospital, but one of the things that I hear a lot is that, you know, you have midwives come in, midwives come out, it's very busy, you have the shift changes, you know, you have somebody who knows you, so they know what type of person you are, they know how you're going to respond to situations, they know whether you're a faffer or a panicker or a shouter or somebody who's a bit more introverted. And you were talking before about assessing women and watching what's going on. The thing that my husband always says is, he said, the midwives never talk. They just come into the house, and he said, particularly when it gets to kind of the business end, he said, you know, they're sitting either side of you. He said, and it's brilliant. They're sort of nodding and smiling and winking at each other.
Yeah. That's true. Sitting there drinking my tea. Right. We're getting ready.
So do you have a timer?
Should we fill that pool up now? Yeah, let's fill that pool up.
But do you have a timer as well? Like, you know, because when they bring the report and it's like, they give you times, like, oh, you 40 minutes this, and I was like, when were you even looking at the...
So we are keeping an eye on the time, because obviously, especially when the baby's born, we have to record the time of birth. But as you know, saying about, you know, just suddenly dropping your baby, what I've had ladies that have had precipitate labours in the past where they have then tried to get to hospital and they've had their births in the car. So I still think you're better having a home birth, being in your warm, cosy environment, and we can coach you and talk to you about catching the baby and, you know, and help you with that. But it's better doing that in your nice environment than in the back seat of the car or in the car park, or down at leggings.
I think for Zachary's, I think my 39-week appointment, or 38, the one before your 40-week midwife, they were like, so because you've given birth quickly, just if you go into labour, just go close to the floor, just sit near the front door.
Training.
I was just like, I'm going to the birth centre, but it could happen that way, and that's the reality of it.
Exactly.
Ladies, I think there's so much more still to unpack, and so we're going to pause there, and then we're going to come back to you guys. So please, this is just part one, and there's so much more to uncover about hypnobirthing and home birthing. So please join us as we on part 2 of this episode. Thank you.